Hello everyone, and thanks for watching. Today I'm very excited to tell you that I've just finished producing and mixing a new song for my very good friend Ria Reign, and the song is called Getaway. It's going to be available on Spotify and all the streaming services very soon, so watch out. While mixing the song, I needed to make a keyboard sound very wide. But instead of using my go-to plugins, I decided to make up my own signal chain. And this is what I'm going to show you today. To create this chain, I have used Studio Rack and Waves plugins. But you can use any plugin you like in this configuration that I'm going to show you now. When you want to work on the stereo spread of a signal, you have to use an MS converter, meaning that the sound needs to be divided in mid and sides so that you can start applying effects only on the sides of the sound. In this case, Studio Rack has it built in. You can make a parallel split and then decide that channel 1 is the mid and channel 2 is the sides. And in this case, I'm working just on the sides. Now the theory says that there are 3 ways you can enhance the stereo spread of a sound. The first one is to high pass the sides so that you can cut the bass content on the side, make the bass under, 240, 300 very central, so that makes it tight and nice, and then the high frequencies on the sides will give an impression of more width. The second way is to saturate the sides so that you add information just on the left and the right and not in the middle, and that makes it more spacious and wide. The third way is simply to add volume to the sides, because that way you change the balance between the center and left and right, and the left and right are going to be higher in volume than the center, and that will make it obviously wider. What I decided to do actually is to do all of the 3 things. I took 3 plugins, did all of these 3 things one after the other, just for a laugh, just to try. And it turns out that it doesn't sound half bad. So here we go. This is my white sauce, I called it. Let me walk you through it. The first plugin I'm using is Renaissance EQ4, and as you can see, I just high passed the sound at around 300. It's somewhere in between. Depends on the sound, but it's somewhere in between 240 and 300. And also, I have tamed a tiny bit of the highs with this shelf, just a tiny bit. How much is it? It's minus 2 dB, just to make sure that when you start pumping the sides, there's going to be a lot of information up there, so it doesn't get too aggressive. Second in line is this year's Waves Audio's freebie, which is a saturator that sounds really lovely. It's called the Little Tube, Magma Little Tube. I just thought it had a very nice, unobtrusive, very creamy, very interesting distortion sound. And as you can see, it's a very moderate setting. I'm just pushing like 30, it says. I don't know, 30 watt. But I put like the big knob on 3, and then sensitivity is just normal. And the third plugin is Renaissance AXX, and I've used it because it's a compressor that was designed to be used with guitars, and it has a specific compression curve that I really like, and also it adds even more saturation and even more interest in the size of the sound. Before hearing the sounds, I should remind you that you should be listening to this on headphones or your studio speakers, because that way you can really hear what's going on the stereo spread of the sound. This is the dry sound. Obviously, applying such widening effects involves risking phase correlation issues, because all we're doing is we're widening the sound, and while you widen the sound, you do it in such a way that you create phase cancellation. You might create phase cancellation, let me rephrase that. So at any time I'm running phase meter, and the middle point of this gauge is where phase becomes anti-phase. So I always have to make sure that at least I am riding this threshold here and not let the sound go too much into anti-phase, because in that case the sound wouldn't be pleasant, and also when you collapse it to mono it will cancel itself. So the first plugin is the EQ that high passes the sides. The second plugin adds saturation just to the sides. Now, the third plugin is where the magic happens. The way I use this is the following. I run the signal through it and then I lower the threshold. Lowering the threshold will push up the volume on the sides and create more void in the middle. Because of how Renaissance AXX is designed, it will also push the upper mid-range and make it slightly harsher, which on its own is not particularly pleasant, but it will make it really pokey on the sides and it will make it very exciting. So I'm just running the music through it and then I progressively lower the threshold. What I'm trying to do is to make a sound wide, not too loud, and make sure that the phase correlation stays in the positive, or at least on the verge. All right, maybe it's a little too much. Let's push it up a tiny bit more. I'm gonna play you the dry sound and then the wet sound, and you can hear the difference. Obviously, and this is very important, as you can see, this chain has added volume to it. So remember to bring down the output volume so it matches the input volume. And you're not just making it louder, but you're just making it wider. And now, let's hear it in context. As you can hear, it really makes a difference. I was really pleased with this. It was an accident. I was just experimenting and this came out, and it's for you to use if you like it. Well, I hope you enjoyed this, and I hope it's useful to you, and I hope you'll find a way to use this technique in your own mixes. Let me leave you with a thought. In a mix like this, if everything is wide, then nothing is wide, because we perceive width as the difference between wide sounds and narrow sounds. So one of the first steps for a good mix is to figure out which sounds you can get away with making mono and putting them closer to the center, so that then we can have very wide sounds, maybe in the choruses, maybe in the bridges. so that it sounds more exciting and more open. I hope you had a good time. Thanks for watching. I'll see you another time.